Hello everybody, welcome back to another monthly reading wrap up. Today we're going to talk about the 5 books that I read in April. I think this might be my worst reading month so far this year. I can't really remember, to be honest. Typically I try to get between like 6 to 7 books a month, and 5 is definitely lesser, although I will say I probably could have finished a book last night, but I already had all my like monthly graphics saved. I'll just save it. But regardless, 5 books is still good in a month and I'm very excited. I will go ahead and put up my graphics here for my stats. If you are curious where to get your stats from, I use Storygraph. I use both Storygraph and Goodreads simultaneously. I just log all my stuff in at the same time. It works really well for me, and it's a great way to kind of get your stats if you are doing anything that requires them. A reading journal, you just want to have them in general, things like that. I did still reach my 2,000 pages for the month, so I had 2,031 pages. My average rating was a 3.8, which is actually pretty good. My top 3 rated books of the month were a 5-star, and I had 2 4-stars, which is very exciting to have pretty good high ratings, especially if you're only reading 5 books. I read 2 horror, 2 young adult, 1 contemporary, 1 fantasy, and 1 mystery this month. And there was only 3 days in the month that I didn't read, which is disappointing. I should just read like a chapter or something. Just there's nothing there, you know? Regardless, we are moving on. So the first book that I read this month is The Haunting of Velwood by Gwendolyn Kais. I read this because it was a book that I purchased because of a booktuber. It is in a reading blog, which I will put up here as well as down below if you're interested in. I read 4 different books because I bought them because of booktube, and this was one of those. Sadly though, I did give this book 3 stars and I enjoyed it. We're following this woman named Talitha, and Talitha lived as a kid on this street called Velwood Street. And when she was going away to college one night, her entire street became like a ghost town. Like it went into its own little bubble, and no one could get in, no one could get out. It's a phenomenon. People studied it for years. It was her and her 2 friends that were going to college that made it out. So everybody else, their families, their neighbors, everything were stuck. Think WandaVision, think Under the Dome, but they're ghosts and they can't come out. And here she is. It's been like 20 years, and a man from a documentary crew is coming to try and get one of the 3 to go back in to see what's going on, to study it, to see what's happening. It's been like 20 some years. So Talitha finally agrees. She goes back to Velwood, and weird, the entire like ghost story of this is very sad. It's more on the sad side than horror. This is a horror novel, but it feels more sad than anything. There is a really wonderful kind of friends to lovers sapphic romance in this that I really enjoyed. It's kind of like a B plot, but it was still very forward facing, and I enjoyed that. And I just felt like this could have ended so many different ways, and I wasn't super like, it started off so strong, the going in, her and the only 2 other survivors being the only people that could go in, things coming out is very spooky and scary, but I just felt like it went more on the kind of sad grief horror I don't really care for, versus actually being scary, more on the paranormal side. So yeah, this was just a 3-star for me, although I am happy I read it. It is a shorter horror, and if you're interested, I do suggest it, especially if maybe you're into WandaVision or Under the Dome. This could be a fun kind of horror for you. Next, I read Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. This is the 3rd in the Hunger Games trilogy. This is the last of the Hunger Games books that I have read previously, so this was a reread for me. 5 stars. Out of the original trilogy, this is the one I remembered the least. I think I remembered like maybe 2 or 3 scenes from this, but I couldn't give you the whole gist. I couldn't tell you the story of what happened, and I really had a good time with this one. In this one, we are not in the games at all. We are in the war. We are rebelling. We are doing things, and I had such a good time with it. It started off very slow, but I felt like that slow start was really needed, because once it started picking up, it really started picking up, and it was crazy. The ending was so sad. I felt a lot of mixed feelings about the ending. I felt very angry at some of the things, but then obviously I think this whole trilogy wraps up in a really nice way, and I'm really happy that I finished rereading this. I'm doing like an unofficial book club with my channel besties, and we are reading every Hunger Games book once a month, and I'm so excited to get into the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes next month because I have not read it. Never read it. I'm very excited, or I guess this month. I'm just happy to have finally reread the trilogy. I really want my 10-year-old to read this soon because this is such a good trilogy. I love it. 5 stars. Next, I read Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. This was my first Rachel Harrison. I have So Thirsty, which is signed, which is so exciting, and I really wanted to read something from Rachel Harrison, see if I enjoyed her writing, her horror style. and I really liked this. I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was so fun. I feel like I have a very weird specific horror preferences when it comes to reading horror. I tend to, I guess, really enjoy a slow burn horror. I like underwater, and then I kind of like the fun kind of goofy horror sometimes. Like, it's just so wild, and I just really had a good time with this. I feel like if you're looking at this book, you probably already kind of understand the premise, especially when I tell you the synopsis of this. Boy, was this not at all what I expected, and I was so grateful for that. So in this book, we're following Vesper, and Vesper has left her family's like compound when she turned 18. They're very religious. She was like not about it, so she left. She went out on her own. She's this waitress. She's super sassy and mean and sarcastic, and I really enjoy it. Her mom is like an ex-horror movie slasher movie star, and she just didn't want to be near any of that anymore, so she left. But then she gets an invitation to one of her best friends, ex-best friend's wedding, and she has to go back to this compound, go back to this religious cult essentially, because she wants to go to the wedding. And I didn't expect anything really that happened, and so I'm sure, again, like I said, black sheep, you're looking at this, you probably already kind of have an understanding, but the first thing, like, I just felt like I got plot twist after plot twist thrown at me, and it was so fun. I will say the major, I think it's the major plot twist, I could have guessed immediately once like things started progressing, but I really had a good time with this. I felt like it was really fun. It was just kind of like a fun horror. Again, I feel like my preferences for horror are so scattered, but it's just, I think it's just me. It's just how I am. I really liked this. I really liked Rachel Harrison's writing. I thought this was such a fun time. I loved the ending. Again, I'm very particular about endings, and I really loved this one. I can't wait to read So Thirsty. I just really like Rachel Harrison's writing, and she just announced a new book coming out soon that I'm probably gonna pre-order because I need it. Next, I read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Now, I initially bought this book at Target because it was just so dang pretty. I hadn't seen anyone talking about it, and the edges were like beautifully sprayed purple, and I was like, this is so cute. It gives very cozy fantasy vibes, which it is. I give this one 3 stars. It was a little too long for my taste. I personally love a good cozy fantasy, especially if it's short and especially if I'm going through it. I feel like just kind of immersing yourself in a very easy lifestyle kind of book is the way to go, but this one just felt like a pinch too long. This book, we're following Keela, and Keela is escaping from the capital of this land because rebels are setting it on fire. The emperor is being taken over. She worked in the library, and she has a sentient spider plant that talks to her, which is hilariously cute. She escapes from this city. She takes a few of these library books with her, which is like a big no-no, and she goes back to her home island, and she hasn't been there since she was a kid. She says her parents' house is still standing, so she obviously inherits it, and it's this cozy little cottage in this cozy little town, and she decides when she's there that the town is run down. She wants to make it better. She wants to make it the town she remembers, so she decides to start selling jams out of her cottage, and with the jams she's also selling spells. It's a little spell shop, if you will. And this book was cute. It was cozy. It's very found family. Every other page is vast descriptions of jams and jellies and plants and pastries, and it's very delicious. I was hungry the whole time reading it. This was a little bit too long. There is a little bit of conflict in it, which is nice, especially because this is so cozy fantasy. Having a little bit of conflict was really nice, because in the cozy fantasy parts I found myself reading this book so slowly, but then when the conflict was happening I was flipping pages. I was so excited to see what happened. I thought it was really cute. It was a good time. It just wasn't my favorite, therefore it was 3 stars. And then the last book that I read this month was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA mystery. I've had this on my wish list for forever. Finally decided to pick it up. I don't know why I haven't picked up sooner. It was so fun. It is a YA mystery, so it reads super quickly, which I needed, especially after reading The Spell Shop. So in this book we're kind of following 2 different timelines. We're following a timeline from 1936 when there's this Ellingham Academy in Vermont. It's a very exclusive academy. It was founded by this billionaire who also lived on the grounds. He has a wife and a daughter. One day they're kidnapped by a man who wrote this like really long note in his name. He signed it Truly Devious. This mystery was never solved. The old man ended up passing. it never was solved. But we are following the timeline of like them trying to figure it out with him and his butler and the detective and things like that. And then the other timeline is present day with Stevie, who was accepted into this Ellingham Academy, and she's accepted because she wants to solve this crime. So everybody that's accepted has like a very special talent. Her talent is basically being a detective, a young detective. And so she's there and someone else dies on the grounds, and Truly Devious signs it, and she's like, oh no, it's happening again. So you're kind of following the two different timelines of both the mysteries trying to be solved, and it's very fast paced, it's very fun. There is a lot of characters, but like I said, because each of them is accepted because of a certain talent, the author tends to say character's name and then kind of like what their ability, their talent is, so you can kind of keep them all aligned. I really had a good time with this. It ended on a cliffhanger, which really bothered me because I immediately had to pick up the second book, which is right here, because I need to know what happens. I loved this. I'm so upset I hadn't picked this up sooner. It was such a good time. 4 stars. It was such a great read. If this is on your TBR and you've been putting it off, pick this one up. It is such a good time. So those are all 5 of the books that I read this past month in April. I mean, to be fair, it was a fairly good reading month for me. I haven't had any 2s or 1 stars. Oh my god, should I knock on wood this year? But it was a good reading month, although it is only 5 books, but I'm still very proud of these 5. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these, or if you're planning to. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.